Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. JC here with another video on Action Taimanin. Today we're gonna talk about how to play with Kirara. But before we start, don't forget to leave a like, share and subscribe if you enjoy the content. So, Kirara, as you can see, is already maxed out. She is a Protect Demon type character, which are two excellent traits. She isn't the best. She's actually the worst character for crit. I mean, her critical rate is not amazing, but she has some things that she can do in regards to crit. So don't worry too much about it. You can always use critical rate increase to mitigate that. But what she does have is a very big amount of defense and HP. And that's why she's known as a kind of offensive tank, melee tank. Unfortunately, she didn't have good supportive capabilities, but now with the new weapon she does. But first, let's check her skill sets. Her skills. As you can see, she doesn't have a leader skill just yet. I don't know why. I don't know if this is a glitch Gremory forgot or they're gonna implement it later, but maybe the leader skill was so good that they did an emergency patch and they removed it before they release the update. But whatever. The fact is that we don't, so let's check the skills. First we have Frost Edge. Frost Edge is a range melee attack. It says during normal attack, hold attack, repeat attack, 14-second cooldowns, perform an airborne attack by lifting an enemy and attacking it with continuous strikes. So yeah, launching attack, whatever, always useless. Unfortunately. One green reduces the cooldown by 20%. One blue increases damage by 25%. One red adds a falling attack at the end of the skill. Like, Gremory should really either buff the airborne mechanics in this game and like give them an edge over super armor, or simply replace all of those. That's another option, Gremory. Trust me, it's the easy way to enhance this. Well, let's see. The next one is going to be Frigid Edge. Frigid Edge is the all red skill. This is a range attack, double dash attack. Well, double dash. Let's call it a double dash. It's 17-second cooldowns. And it says throws an ice spear and deals a range attack. So this one, it is probably the weakest. Red is the weakest color because of the effects of this skill. The skill in itself is pretty good. The attack has a ton of range, a ton of multi-hits, it does decent damage. The 17-second cooldowns is long, but set red 1 reduces skill cooldown by 10%. The bigger the cooldown, the more that reduction is going to affect, so it is okay. Then, set 2 makes the target groggy. Completely useless. I mean, of course it's useful, but for enemies, the important enemies, the ones that have super armor, the bosses, that's not gonna do anything. Then, set 3 increases critical rate by 15%. Yeah, the generic effect that we always have on these skills. It's either a damage increase, critical rate, or critical damage. So yeah, the problem is the second one. If it gave more value, like it also had an extra effect like buffing the damage, reducing the defense of the enemy, something like that, it would be a pretty good skill, but it isn't. So yeah, that's one problem. This is something they needed to rework, because after testing everything, I noticed that red is the weakest color. Then, Snow Leopard Sprint. Melee attack, dash attack, 12-second cooldown, perform a charge attack, slashing enemies ahead. This works with the main supporter. If the main is green, increase damage by 12% for 10 seconds. Main blue increases speed by 15% for 10 seconds. And main red adds an additional attack at the end. All of these effects are pretty good. The red one feels a little bit awkward, but it's fine, it's fine. It makes this skill very a good damaging option, let's call it that way. And the duration is pretty nice, 10 seconds for the main, that's good. If it was 5 it would be useless, but with 10 it's just right. And then Snow Veil. This is the all blue skill. It is range attack, it is hold attack, 18 second cooldowns, spray cold air in front to deal an area attack. 1 blue reduces the target speed by 10% for 10 seconds. 2 blue sustain the attack for an additional 1.5 seconds and gain super armor while using the skill. 3 blue increase critical damage by 250%. So this is actually very good with the right supporters. If you are not strong enough, this skill is not gonna be impressive at all. Like there's utility options for this, but you want to be really strong, to have good weapons, to have good supporters in order to use this skill effectively, because it can deal a ton of damage and it can abuse some effects. So it's good, but it requires heavy investment. If not, you're not gonna see the value in this one. Frigid Zone. Frigid Zone, it's a perfect dodge. Immediately before enemy attack, dodge. 14-second cooldown. When doing an extreme dodge, opponent opens an extreme cold zone and lowers the speed and defense of enemies nearby. 2 green increase the damage by 20% while active. This is great. This is not inside the Frigid Zone, it is while active. So you can get out of there and gain some distance. Then 2 blue increase the speed and defense decrease by 50%. Also great, also great. Unfortunately, one thing that we must notice in this skill, in the description, is that Grimoire does not mention by how much we are reducing the defense and speed, which is a shame. They should have already fixed that description in the rework, but in the renewal, but whatever. And lastly, red increases the duration by 50%. All of these effects are amazing. This is one of the best skills that Kirara has, but you're not always going to use it. Sometimes you want other kind of effects. And sometimes, like right now, the enemies are going to be immune to slow. So even though you get the defense reduction, there's other things that you can use. Then we have Snow Leopard Fist. Melee attack, hold the bait, 13-second cooldown, deals a consecutive attack with Ice-clad Fist while moving forward. 1 green, reduces damage taken by 50% during attack. That's great, super great, because as you can see, it's going to lock you in place. I mean, kinda. I think you can move the trajectory of the attack, but you're not gonna move from that spot. 2 green adds an additional attack at the end. That's fine. The last attack is going to deal more damage, of course. And 3 green increases damage by 150%. So yeah, pretty unimpressive at first, but this one is the one that gets benefited by the limited set. So it is good. And besides, dealing massive damage in green is super easy thanks to the critical supporters. So trust me, it is fine as it is. Then, Blossoming Fog. Blossoming Fog is an interesting skill. It's a range attack, double dash, 19-second cooldowns. Set up a trap that explodes and inflict damage on contact. Unfortunately, as every character, this is going to have a requirement to use 3 supporters from 1 color. So you cannot use it on mixed builds. 3 green reduces the enemy's defense by 30% for 10 seconds. So that's really strong. Trust me. You want that over Frigid Zone sometimes, depending on the situation. Or you can combine that with Frigid Zone and it's even better. So keep that in mind. Then, 3 blue. Reduce the enemy speed by 20% for 10 seconds. Also good, not bad. I wouldn't say that it's busted as green, but it is nice. 3 red. Stun the enemy. Yeah, I mean, I guess you can use it for PvP, but with 19-second cooldown, this skill is too slow to take advantage of with that stun. And in general, the biggest disadvantage of this one is just the cooldown. It's just way too big for what it's doing. I get it, the green effect is really, really strong, but it should be something like this, like 17. 19 is just, wow, disgusting. Because with the cooldown reduction from the, what's the name? From the skill training, then it's gonna be lowered, and that's gonna help you out a lot. But even so, my Kirara is maxed, and this feels really, really slow. Then we have Taimanin Art Frost. It's obviously basic attacks, consecutive basic attacks. It's a mid attack and range attack at the end. Improves the basic attacks by exploding icicles at the end of the attack. Increases damage by 10% with 1 supporter, increases damage by an additional 20% with 2, and increases particle charge amount by 50% with 3 supporters. So, really good skill. It is generic, you can use it if you don't feel like using any of the other skills. And there's a ton of value with some weapons because of the multi-hit effect that it has at the end. So yeah, definitely worth it. And her basics do feel strong with this one. If you don't use them, if you don't use Taimanin Art, the basics feel very, very weak. Then we have Glacier. Yeah, Glacier Drop. Glacier Drop is a range attack. Hold the bait. 11-second cooldown. Attack by jumping into the air and throwing an iceberg. So this is one of the skills, like I haven't mentioned that all the tweaks that they did, but this is one of the skills that receive a buff. It now deals more damage. With 2 green, increases damage by 80%. With 2 blue, freeze the target for 5 seconds, which is great, and it's a long duration for this debuff. And with 2 red, stun the enemy. Again, pretty bad, but I mean, it's for PvP, I guess. And considering that it's for PvP, it gives you a very good advantage in the fact that you are getting airborne when doing this skill. So yeah, there's value in this. Lastly, we have the Awakening skill. Crystal Ice. Range attack, immediately after enemy attack, dodge. So it's a counter attack, which is not great. I don't like counter attacks. But there's one thing, well, there's a couple things that can mitigate this. Number one, Kirara is super tanky, so she doesn't receive as much damage as other characters. So you can equip any form of HP recovery, either with supporters or weapon, and you're gonna be fine. So keep that in mind. And now let's read. With 7-second cooldowns, it says, immediately after being attacked, counter with ice crystal and freezes the enemies. So it is a guaranteed freeze on any color. I love that. And it's not that difficult to activate this skill because Kirara is a melee character, so she is going to get hit. And we are always spamming, or at least I'm always spamming the evade button in some scenarios, so I activate this frequently. Now, the set effects. To green, reduce enemy damage by 20% for 10 seconds. To blue, knock back enemies with attack. To red, reduce the enemy's defense by 30% for 10 seconds. So, this, just because it freezes, it's already good. But I gotta say that the other effects, the green and red, are not that great. The green, at least synergizes with the character itself. As I said, Kirara is really tanky, so reducing the attack of the enemy is valuable for Kirara specifically. I mean, in VR, it is not one of those important debuffs, but it's gonna keep Kirara alive. The good one is the red one, because it gives you a 30% defense reduction. It's basically the same as this one, so you can select either to go green or red to reduce the defense, as well as blue if you want to use Rigid Zone, but you want to stack those debuffs as much as possible. So yeah, that's about it, guys, for the skills. Now, very quickly, before we start, I'm going to talk about her renewal, and I mean the weapon, okay? Because most of the video I'm going to be using the renewal weapon. There's going to be some exceptions, but I mean, she just received the renewal, so people are going to be excited about this. And I gotta say, this weapon is busted. I thought, I already knew that it was good, but I said to myself, well, we gotta check how good it is. Let's see. I have only S level 2, and it's disgustingly good. So, has a 15% chance to freeze the enemy for 5 seconds when attacking. That's basic attacks, that's range attacks, melee attacks, all attacks. That's already good. Freeze, for those who do not know, is going to literally freeze the enemy. They cannot move, they're gonna get their actions interrupted, and the next instance of damage after freezing is going to deal double damage. So it's really, really great. At max S level, this is going to give you a 30% chance, which is pretty good. You want to use this especially with multi-hit attacks. All of her pure color skills do multi-hit attacks, so those are great for activating the weapon. And let's read the rest. It says, when attacking, frozen enemies restores 2% of lost HP every second for 3 seconds. So yeah, that's strong. It's gonna be 4% when max out. You say that's not much, but listen, you're gonna restore 4% 3 times. Because it lasts 3 seconds and it's every second. Okay. And it also increases the speed by 10%, which is one of her biggest weaknesses. She is super slow, and that 10% makes her feel normal. If you do it without the weapon, you're gonna feel slow, but if you have the weapon, she feels just like any other Taimanin. One moment. Oh, I'm still sick, guys, sorry. So, we're gonna test her. Golly. It's because I'm talking too much. That's why. So yeah, I need to go here and I'm going to put this one. We're gonna start with green. So, Carrot Bunny, as you can see, Carrot Bunny. So this bunny is going to use the weapon S level 2 and critical Magatames. And this is S level 3. And plus 13 this one, plus 10 this one. So as you can see, my weapons are not that great. And I demolished like all runs with this character on all builds. I demolished the enemies, the tower. It's just amazing. So that already tells you how good this weapon is. Then we're going to be using Glacier Drop as our main damage skill, because we cannot combine it with Snow Leopard Fist, as you can see. I'm going to be using Crystal Ice, I'm going to be using Frigid Zone, and I'm going to be using the extra skill slot, since I'm farming with the Heavy Shika pack that I have been saving. So I'm going to use it this time, but remember, you can just remove the fourth skill in most cases. I'm gonna mention those specific cases where that fourth skill could be used instead of another skill. But for the most part, you can just omit it. It's just the basic enhancer in most cases. So yeah, crystallizes to freeze the enemy, frigid zone to reduce the defense, and then this one just to deal a ton of damage. So yeah, we are using Onisaki Kirara here because she gives you another chance to freeze the enemy, and she reduces damage and she increases the HP restoration. This is probably the best character release supporter that we have received, or well, the best weapon, the renewal weapon that we have received, because it synergizes with the character release limited supporter. As you know, the weapon is going to give you HP every time you freeze the enemy, and this is also freezing the enemy, and the weapon restores HP, and this increases the HP restoration. So that's why it's so good. It synergizes perfectly. Like, the weapon increases a ton the value of this supporter. And the supporter with the active can also freeze the enemy. And not just one enemy, all enemies that are hit by the cone. So yeah, that's why we're using this one. Then, we're gonna use Nano, because I'm going to do damage on both sides of the spectrum, but most of my attacks are going to be melee, if I'm not mistaken. Well, it doesn't really matter if it's melee or not. I get the same amount of damage increase, so that's great. Then we have Suruga. As I mentioned, Kirara is not really good at critting naturally, so we need to enhance her a little bit. Unlike other characters, if you want to go with a crit build, try to equip a supporter that gives critical rate. Or have perfect weapons, that's another option. So yeah, let's test her. This is gonna be very, very easy. Like, all of the runs are going to be easy, except for one that I have to lower the step, but it's because it's the supported set. So I just do this and voila. Which is the last one? Hold the bait. No, that's the glacier drop. Ah, it's the counter. That's why. It's the counter. Now that I see the counter, I remember. Yeah, the what's the name? Glacier drop. It's very strong. It deals a significant amount of damage. Like, it's not a pure color skill, but it is decent for sure. It also provides it has good AoE. That's an important aspect of this skill. Like, I use it on VR against the LWS squad, and it was performing tremendously. I tell you that. Yep. Just look at that. Oh, come on, don't make me go. Yeah. So the advantage of spamming those freeze debuffs is that you're going to increase your damage. That's why Kirara now feels so aggressive. I mean, she's not melting the enemy in one hit because she's a slow attacker. Keep that in mind. Kaput. Like, that was, both hits did how much? Like 500,000 for a skill that isn't pure. Keep that in mind, so it's strong. Now I'm gonna use the ultimate because I don't want to deal with the enemies. But another tip, you can freeze the enemies, use frigid zone, and then use the ultimate, and they're going to melt. I didn't do it, but you could. Oh, come on. Well, good thing that it helps out with the freezing and the counter, those tracking attacks. Where are you? There you are. Freeze. And one hit and done. As you can see, she's really strong. And this weapon truly helps out with one of her biggest weaknesses, that is HP recovery. She didn't have any way of HP recovery. You will have to over-rely on supporters. That, yes, they help out, but as I say, over-rely on them. So now it doesn't feel as bad. Now, let's go with blue. This is a build that I have already shown. It's blue offensive for basic attacks. And as you can see, we're going to use Snow Leopard Sprint because it gives you a speed increase. We're going to be using Frigid Zone to deal more damage and have control over the enemy. And we're going to be using the Taimanin art because it is a basic attack strategy. I just added a Glacier Drop because it gives you utility by freezing the enemies. But you can change it for any skill. Well, in the case of the basic strategy, you should use this, and for this, whatever you want as usual. Yeah, because this one is not as flexible. These three are required. So, we're going to be using Lilim, of course, because Kirara is going to benefit from this. You can use the active to gain even more benefit by buffing yourself. We're going to be using Blackbeard Kirara, super great for demons, generic damage, great. And Lapis. Lapis pairs very well with Kirara. When performing basic attacks, has a 10% chance to increase the damage by 160%, and increases the speed of demon type characters by 14%. That speed increase, along with Leopard Sprint, along with the weapon, it's noticeable. Yeah, for sure. And yeah, let's test it. So yeah, let me just remember immediately. Yeah, I forget that is the basic attack, the basic enhancer. So I do this, a dash, and then you see that I did 1,000,000 damage, and that I am actually pretty fast. That's what I used. Why I used this one. It is really good with Kirara. And now the weapon enhances that speed even further, because we have a 10% extra speed on the weapon. Yeah, strong. Really, really strong. I'm going to use this. And I'm also going to use this. And I'm also going to use this. Yeah. Nice, nice, nice. Okay, I'll wait. Oh, come on. Don't get away. That's why I hate teleportation on enemies. Nice. Yeah, I'm not melting the enemy, for sure. But remember, unlike other characters that I have showcased, this one doesn't have any of the weapons at S level 5. In fact, one of them is S level 2. So this can become way stronger. I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to ulti. So that you can see just how much damage I can deal. But I didn't crit. Nice. On some of them. Oh, come on. Let me do my thing. Nice. Almost done. Yeah, the damage increase is amazing. It just gives a niche for Kirara. Like now well, I haven't leveled her up before, and she already have most of the things in her kit, but the weapon really makes a difference. By having that 30%, well, in this case almost 20%, like 18% on any kind of attack to freeze the enemy is just great. Let's see, what other skills, what other sets? Let's go with red. Yeah. red. For red, we're going to be using the same weapon again. We're going to be using Frigid Zone, Leopard Sprint, and Frigid Edge. Yeah, as you can see, not much of this build is providing me with buffs or any kind of benefit, only Frigid Zone. That's why I also equip Crystal Ice. So you can omit Leopard Sprint and instead use Crystal Ice so that you can deal the most damage with your red skill. So you use the debuff, evading, then you receive a hit, and then you just melt the enemies with this. So yeah, let's try it. For supporters, as I mentioned, we need support that gives you critical. That's why I'm using Anerose. And also, Anerose is going to increase the maximum HP, which in turn is going to increase the healing, because the healing is percentage based, and that's great. You can also use Eleanor if you want. She's a really great option for critical, and she's also going to increase your damage even further. But Anerose also has its own HP recovery in the form of the extra passive, so that's another reason for using her. Yukina because I'm using only skills, and Barretta because we're going crit. Another thing to mention now that I remember is that you can pair the debuff with the active of the supporters, and that's going to deal an absurd amount of damage. So keep that in mind. Maybe you can abuse it. So yes, I do this and I do this, and that's what you want to do. As you can see, it is pretty busted. Come on, let me do something. There, nice. Perfect. Yeah, like, it isn't the strongest. It works for sure. I won't deny that. But compared to the other two, I think it's not the best color. Nice. Yeah, the multi-hit is just great. Come on. There. Like, I don't know if I'm confused, being pulled, or what. It's always one of those things with Edwin. Like, I really wish that Freeze was equally balanced on all colors. Or at least that red wasn't, like, as forgotten as the other colors in regards to freeze. Like, it's okay if blue is the strongest one for freezing, but make something with red. I'm only freezing because of the weapon and because of Crystal Ice. Come on. There, nice. My golly. Yeah, I'm gonna keep the active. And since my freezing is not that great, I might only get Frigid Zone up before using the ultimate. Like, timing it is kind of hard, like this. Yeah, that's the only disadvantage of freeze, that it's going to be difficult to actually hit the enemy with the right skill on the right time, so that you make optimal damage. Or, well, even so, you are going to be able to beat these enemies and use Kirara as a very powerful character. Yeah. Now we're gonna use the other green. This is the limited set green. For the limited set, we're gonna be using Marine in the Storm. Marine in the Storm is going to enhance Snow Leopard Feast. Skill changes every hit into a critical hit. So that's pretty good. It guarantees that you're going to do crits on this. Then using 1.5 particles, one particle, and its final hit freezes the enemy for 3 seconds. It's good. It's really good. Guaranteed freeze, guaranteed crit, and let's continue reading. Not affected by the enemy's critical rate reduction effect, and not applied when there aren't enough particles. So kind of normal. And increase critical damage by 30% when maxed out. Great. Probably one of the best weapons. Like, I think this one is still better than Lina's limited weapon. Way better. Because it guarantees the crit of a skill, increases critical, even if it's not as big as Lina's, it is still a critical increase on UR, and it also gives inflicts a debuff. That's nice. Really nice. So, obviously, we're going to use Snow Leopard Fist. We're going to be using Frigid Zone and Snow Leopard Sprint to increase the damage. So, Frigid Zone, Sprint, and then Fist. And we have here Blossoming Fog. I strongly suggest that you change Snow Leopard Sprint for Blossoming Fog. But it depends on how you feel the skill. Snow Leopard Sprint is super easy to use. You're gonna move in front of the enemy. While Blossoming Fog, you're getting away from the enemy or moving close to the enemy. Like, it depends on your position and the direction. But the skill is just too slow and it doesn't advance enough. If they had made it a little bit more faster and larger, that it advanced for a longer distance, that would have been great. But in a big stage, you're not gonna feel that this work like the one that I'm using right now, like the one that I'm playing right now. So yeah, but this gives the most value out of these two skills. It also depends on your attack and the enemy's defense, but for the most part, you're gonna want to use this one instead of this one. I'll leave that third slot up to you, but here I'm using both of them. For supporters, we're using again Tsuruga, Nano, and Kawaru, because that's just great for critting. It's amazing. So, first Frigid Zone, like so, then nice, and destroy the enemies. Yeah, as you can see, I eliminate the mobs very quickly. The weapon guarantee in your crits is super great, considering that she has very low crit rate. Yeah, you see how I melt Edwin and this is not S level 5? You see why this weapon is actually good? Yeah, Kirara is really strong. I really expected more changes and that she was more freeze focused, which she is. But I think that they should have buff red. Like, everything they did was okay, but they didn't give a different identity to the weakest color. And now the weakest color is red. Like, there we go. Nice. I just do this and nice. Boom. Yeah, also the amount of multi-hits of these skills, in particular Fist, is going to pair super well with the other weapon. If you don't have the limited one and you want to use the other one, it's gonna be fine. Unfortunately, you don't have the critical rate increase, but consider this: you're gonna make most of the hits deal double damage because of how many hits she deals. So yeah, it's fine to use any of the weapons. I just prefer to use this one sometimes. Now, let me check the builds. Because I have more builds, but of course we don't have enough space. Like, I'm grateful to Gremory, like this is more than enough, but for someone who showcases builds, like it is not enough. Okay, we're gonna go with... I'm gonna use this first, just to set everything in order about the weapon, and next we're gonna go down to 97. Here I have, yeah. I want to face only one big enemy, and that is not that fast. So this is supportive Kirara. She's going to work just fine, but I'm not going to be... I don't want to deal with everything. It would take too much. Maybe I could beat him, but I don't want to try it. So we're gonna use Blossoming Fog, Frigid Zone, Snow Veil, and the last one is going to be the basic enhancer. No, Glacier Drop. So we're gonna go blue. Let me explain. The idea is to go supportive, and you can use Snow Veil, Frigid Zone, and Blossoming Fog to reduce speed. If you want to go full speed reduction, that's fine. But if you want to deal more damage, because it's also supportive, you can change Blossoming Fog for Glacier Drop, which is going to freeze the enemies, and you're going to deal more damage with the next attack. This is kind of a strategy that you can use on VR, but maybe with Queen Arachne. That's why I'm fighting Queen Arachne. Like, unfortunately, Kirara needs to use an evade, so you want mobs, and Mass Taimanin doesn't have mobs. That's the problem with that. Let's see. We're gonna use Akina, of course, super great. She's going to give me HP restoration. Then we're gonna use Nana to reduce the damage taken, and we're going to be using Su to abuse my debuffs. That's why. You could change Su if you want for something else, but this is my recommendation. I mean, there's plenty of options that you can use, like Heaviko, for example. If you have a good Heaviko, you can use Onisaki Kirara, Blackbeard Onisaki Kirara. You can use this one as a generic damage reduction supporter. There's a bunch of good options. So yeah, let's test it. There we go. Nice. What were the skills again? Double dash and hold attack. So double dash, hold attack. Yeah, destroying all of them super easily. Boom, boom. Yeah, I love the ability to just freeze the enemy. 1, 2. And there we go. Shredding everyone. And Snow Veil is probably one of the best weapons to one of the best skills to use with this weapon, due to the amount of multi-hit that it does. Like, as I mentioned, all the pure color skills are really good with this weapon. Okay, nice, nice, nice. There we go. Yeah, interrupting the actions is way too easy with this. Like, what am I not using? Ah, it's the double dash. This one. Ah, yeah, the super armor is appreciated for sure. There we go. I'm going to use the ultimate right now in this moment. Nice. I was expecting to hit Queen Arachne with the freeze and the ultimate, but I didn't. Okay, that didn't work. That didn't work at all. No. There we go. Nice, nice, nice. I love the HP recovery that I have with this support, with this weapon. It's truly astonishing for sure. And there. Nice. Perfect. And I forgot to change the skin. Okay. Well, in any case, let us continue. I'm gonna go up. Like, this was the only one that I did on a lower level because it is a supportive build. That's why. Then, oh, mixed. Mixed. This one is interesting. For mix, first of all, the custom. If I don't do it, I'm going to forget it. Like this. And we're gonna go with Suruga on the main. If I'm not mistaken. Yeah, Suruga on the main. Or are you Suruga? Here. Baretta on the sub-slot. Where is Baretta? Here she is. And lastly, Yukina. Because these give big damage increase. And I'm going to use skills. So, what do we want? We want, obviously, let's see, Frigid Edge. We want Crystal Eyes. We want Snow Leopard Sprint. And lastly, Frigid Zone. So let's analyze it. And why is Frigid Zone the extra one? We're using this because it's pure and we don't miss that much with the critical rate. I mean, for Kirara, yes, but if you have the weapons, it won't be that much of a problem. And besides, I'm using Suruga. Like, when I say when you have the weapons, when you have them maxed out or at a good S level, enchantment level, keep that in mind. In fact, if you have this at only one red, that's also usable. Then, Snow Leopard Sprint is to increase the damage, and this one, Crystallize. Crystallize we're gonna use because of the 30% defense reduction. It's just busted. So you get near the enemy with Leopard Sprint, then they hit you, you use Crystallize, and then Frigid Edge. Frigid Zone is just a filler skill. The true combo is this one. You can change it if you don't like take the hit. If you don't have HP recovery, use Frigid Zone instead. So, yeah, I gotta admit, this is not as strong as other builds. Because, as I said, red is the weakest one. We're taking advantage of red here. So, yeah, you'll see. It's double dash. Yeah, I forgot. Nice, perfect. Yeah, the HP recovery is Just amazing. The weapon is just great. The two effects are just really strong. It's unfortunate that Kirara is now over-reliant on this weapon. But I gotta admit, it is one of the strongest weapons. Just because it inflicts freeze while also healing. Like, both of the effects are really strong. Nice, 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 nice. Excellent, freezing. Snow Leopard. And this one. And I'm also going to use the active. Almost done. Yeah, done. Perfect, 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 perfect. So yeah, as you see, it is not as strong as other builds, in particular green, but it can do the job, you know? Oh, come on. That's one of the worst things about that skill, the red skill. The targeting is terrible. Like, that's another thing they should have fixed. Like, they overdid the model. They tuned it too much. And they didn't like improve that much her gameplay. Like, the weapon is carrying the whole thing. Okay, ultimate. And yeah. So yeah, that's it for that one. I have another mix if I'm not mistaken. Oh, I skipped the other mix. It was first. Wait a moment. Wait a second. What? Oh, I think I took picture of it after. No, let me check the skills. Frigid Zone. No, this is different. This is different. Okay, yeah. So for this one, it is a different. It's because I use the same supporters. But we are using here Frigid Zone. But I'm going to put Taimanin. Frigid Zone, Taimanin Art, Leopard Sprint, correct. Glacier Drop. Yeah. Wait a moment. Yeah, like I'm gonna move it. This goes here and this goes here. Because the fourth is the one that you can just omit. Remember that. In most cases. So yeah, this was supposed to be blue. Yeah, I forgot about changing the supporters in the picture. That's the deal. So you can just equip any damaging supporters here that you have and then you want to use. You can use Kirara, you can use Lilim, super friendly Lilim. You can use Hebico, Arabella. You can use, of course, Anerose. Anerose is not bad. I'm going to use Anerose. You can use... Like, what else? I mean, this if you want as filler, but I'm going to use Lilim next to Anerose. One limited, one F2P. And this one. So what is the combo here, or what's the idea? We're going to use Frigid Zone, then Glacier Drop, then Leopard Sprint. So yes, you may think, well, that's not that much damage. Well, you're reducing defense, inflicting double damage on the next hit, and increasing your attack. So yeah, it's gonna deal some damage for sure. And then we have the basic enhancer. you can change the combination however you like and you feel more comfortable. Like all of these skills are good. You can combine them however you want. So as I said, this, followed by this, and then this. And as you can see, it is not that weak. It is actually pretty strong. Yeah, that was fast. Yeah, sorry for coughing the whole video, but when I talk, I get my my throat gets dry. You know, sick and all. There we go. Nice. And now I do this, and I just eliminate the mobs. And also Edwing. Let's go for Edwing. First, Edwing, try to do something. Like that. Perfect. Perfect. As you can see, this is very, very good. The new Kirara is very, very aggressive. But it relies more on the weapon than on the balance adjustments on the skills. Like, they needed to tweak Red. Like, Red has his niche when she wasn't as good with the other two colors. Like, Blue was the kind of weakish one. Like, it did kind of the same. But now that we have Anne Rose, it's way stronger. I didn't show a blue build with Anne Rose, but you just use her as an offensive option, and she's going to increase your damage dramatically, and it's gonna pair super well with the multi-hits of Snowveil. Let's see, I'm going to... You know what? I have an idea. I'm gonna use this, and now take this. You see? Damage. A lot of damage thanks to the active of the supporter. Yeah, pairing the supporter after using Ice Drop. What was the name again? After using Glacier Drop, it's gonna be amazing. This is the easiest one to pair with strong attacks. Basically, you can just get away while another character or you yourself use the strongest attack after freezing the enemy. Now, to finish, I'm going to show you a run, and I'm going to do it on this step, why not? I did it on 41 before, but I think this is aggressive enough and oppressive enough to use on higher steps, so let's see. Let's start with the other ones, so that you know what I'm doing here. Kamimura Maika. The weapon is just a bit stick because I'm not going green. Obviously, anti-machine Magatamas. Then I'm using Death from Above, Ruthless Explosion, Carpet Bombing, damaging skill with multi-hits, protection skill with multi-hits, and debuffing skill with multi-hits. And why do we care about multi-hits? You know why! White Feather Asuka. To break that super armor and keep the enemies stunned. Then we're gonna use Fujitsuki, because Fujitsuki is super, super good. And then we're going to use Yukina to increase our damage. Remember, if you're way too high on VR, maybe you don't want Fujitsuki, maybe you want something else. Then, let's go with Oboro. As usual, Oboro. Her weapon is S level 2, unfortunately, but it's going to heal her. And more importantly, it abuses mind control. Obviously, we're using this, anti-machine Magatamas. And since she's going to be on the front, I'm going to be using the wood attribute Magatama effect, which ensnares the enemy. And of course, I'm going to be using Wicked Slasher, Hypnosis Seal, and Blooming Carnage. Blooming Carnage is not going to do anything, like it's just a big AoE, but is fast in comparison to Carnage Dance, which I want damage without compromising my debuffing capabilities, you know? Even if it doesn't apply the debuff, it's just okay. And as you notice, I am not using a fourth skill on the other two, but on Kirara, I'm gonna be using. Wait a moment, did I show you the supporters? No, for her. Actually, let me tell you something. I didn't mention this. This works very well with Kirara, but Furfur is a really good supporter now. The Vacation Furfur, the F2P supporter. This one gives you invincibility, gives you damage reduction for demons, and a skill increase for demons. It is just great. It is amazing, and it's particularly good for what I'm doing here. So I could use Furfur in this build in particular. So I'm using Momochi Nagi, as you can see, to increase damage and reduce damage taken, because Oboro is fragile. The same can be said about Guard Lily. I'm going to inflict many debuffs, so yeah, she's going to give me more attack and more defense. And Susune, because she gives damage, she ensnares the enemies, and she gives healing. Like, there's a bunch of synergies in this specific composition that makes this team really oppressive. And lastly, we're gonna go with Kirara. For Kirara, obviously we're using the weapon. Even though it's not as strong because of the S level, trust me, it is strong. Then, we're using blue? No. Yes, we're using blue. We're using mixed. Yeah, I remember why we're using mixed. So, we're gonna use Crystallize to freeze the enemy. We're gonna use Great Laser Drop to freeze the enemy. We're gonna use Snow Leopard Sprint to increase my damage. And this one is just a filler. If you want to change Snow Leopard for the basic enhancer, that's fine, because the basic enhancer gives you multi-hit, which is going to be really effective with the weapon. Now, here comes the disgusting part. And it's that I'm using Onisaki Kirara. Why? That's a bad supporter. You should... Well, as I mentioned, it synergizes very well with the weapon. Kirara is already a chunky character because it has big defenses. And I'm facing LWS squad. There's multiple enemies here, so they're gonna be hitting me a ton. And that's gonna give me chances to freeze the enemy. And I'm also using the other Onisaki Kirara to increase damage and recover HP, and this one to reduce the damage taken. There's one more thing that I should mention. It is particularly good for Kirara. If you're able to create a set of Ice Magatamas, or multiple sets of Ice Magatamas, Kirara is going to have so many chances to inflict freeze. That is disgusting. It's gonna have like... I don't want to check it, but it's 5% when being hit. Then the other... how much? 20% when being hit. That's a 25% chance. Or well, 20 plus 5 technically. And there's also the weapon that gives you 30 when max out. So yeah, good chances of inflicting that debuff. Obviously, I'm going to pilot Kirara. She is the wonkiest one. And you want to abuse as fast as possible those skills that inflict freeze. So that's why I'm using her. So yeah, this I expect it to be easy. If someone dies, then I'm gonna go back a couple steps. Or maybe 10 steps. So yeah. So I just do this and... there we go. That's the thing. Okay. And the AoE is huge, as you can see. That's why we use this. It is really oppressive, really good. You see that they are not moving? Because of the super armor broken, because of the freeze, because of the mind control. There is just so many things in place here. But this is really effective against VR, where we have multiple enemies. Keep that in mind. It's not for any stage. Like Mass Taimanin is not a good idea for this. Or it could work maybe. And I, as you saw, use the active because the active you do want to abuse. I mean, it enhances the freezing strategy for sure. Nice. And I'm going to take those particles and nice. Okay, ultimate. Oh, come on. Yeah. Like, it's normal to get interrupted, I guess. Nice, nice, nice. Another ultimate. I guess this is going to end them, no? How about this? So yeah, I'm able to abuse Kirara because of all the synergies here. Not that Kirara alone could carry a whole team. Or I don't think. I need to check her performance with other bosses. But I think this works pretty well here. Yeah, because the enemy is not able to do anything between all the debuffs and armor break that we're doing. So nice. Nice, nice, nice. Well, let's finish the video by checking the weapons for Kirara, as usual. And giving some comments. So, weapons. Let's go with the weapons and let's go with Kirara here. So, unfortunately, she shares weapons. And I say unfortunately because I'm going to have to discard some of them because they don't work for Kirara. Let's see. This SR is going to increase critical rate, pretty bad. This SR increases basic attack damage by 40% when maxed out, pretty bad. The bad weapon, the character pack weapon, the originals that they used to release that are pretty bad. The paid weapons, the Yomotsu Heigu. So this one says perform range attack that deals damage and restore 15% of your lost HP. That's gonna be 30%. Wow, 30 is a nice amount. I mean, it's fine, I guess. If you play her defensively, you can use those actives to just restore your HP. It is a good option for beginners, but I wouldn't say that it's busted. It doesn't provide anything other than healing. Then we have the PvP weapons. Momochi weapon. Probably one of the worst, specifically for Kirara. You would have to have everything maxed out and use critical rate increase because remember Kirara has a lower critical rate. So yeah, this actually doesn't pair that well with her specifically. But you can use it if you want. It's a filler option. Then, the particle charge weapon. Could be usable. I don't have enough copies. I don't have what I require to make this set and test it. But she is probably a character that could use the ulti strategy because of the amount of multi-hit on Leopard Fist. It could be. It could be. And besides, you want to use... why do I say Leopard Fist? Because you want to go green to use Micah. And you can just make the commitment and go with Red Ingrid along with this one. Even if it's not pure green, like the multi-hit is just too good. Oof. Don't use this. You know it. It is for long battles and we don't have long battles with infinite enemies. This one is the super armor damage increase. This one, as you saw, it's pretty good if you want to use green. I do recommend getting the weapon and the supporter. Both of them are really, really good. and they enhance her performance on green. Well, the weapon. The supporter enhances her performance on blue, or mix. Let's see. Next, this one we didn't check. I may do a video for like the seasonal sets, but usually they aren't that strong. But let me talk about this one. It is one of the not so weak, but still not good. So, deal damage, let's say 300% of damage when maxed out to enemies within a certain area using one particle when using the skill Frigid Zone. This skill won't activate with insufficient particles, has a 30% chance of recharging particles by 5%, 10% when maxed out. When attacked, activates every 5 seconds. So it's easy to abuse, and it's a way to gain particles, but I wouldn't recommend it if you want to use the ultimate. It's just a thing. And yeah, it is not like super busted, but it can be used. Snake weapon, a worse weapon than the summer weapons, but it's kind of the same. The active is interesting, unlike the summer weapons. But I wouldn't recommend it. This is for Eleanor, 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 Phantasma, and you know, this weapon. Probably the staple weapon from now on. Busted. You want to get it. My god, it is just disgustingly good. It gives a whole niche to Kirara and enhances her gameplay tremendously, as well as giving her HP recovery. It's just wow. Like, I hate that they over rely on the weapon on this character renewal. They should have tweaked a little bit red. But well, and give us the leader skill. So, comments on Kirara. Well, as I said, she over relies on this weapon. So you don't want to get her unless you get copies of the weapon. I know she's appealing, and I know she can be really strong, but she's a character that requires heavy investment. If you have been rolling and you got some of her weapons, like the new weapon, well, right now it's new, but you get it. Let me show you. If you get any of these two and some decent S level, you want to use Kirara. If you don't have any of those weapons, probably you don't want to use Kirara. As simple as that. These weapons really enhance her gameplay. You saw me playing with both of these weapons, and I didn't use any of the others. Because as I mentioned, this is not impressive because it only provides HP recovery. It could be used for the supporter build, for sure. And the other one, it could be used, the Momochi weapon could be used for a crit build. But there's those disadvantages of the stats in Kirara's case. Talking about utility, she doesn't provide as much freezing if she doesn't have the weapon. She does provide freezing, but you're not going to be abusing it as much. So I wouldn't recommend that you use her on VR in most cases. She is kind of slow, and that's not good. That's why, even though she has a niche as a speed reduction character, she's not great at it. So yeah, there's too many disadvantages. That's why I don't recommend her in most cases. If you got those weapons, well, go get her. If not, and you're not willing to invest a lot on this character, don't. Also, she also requires some supporters that are difficult to get nowadays, like Nana, like Lilim. Fortunately, we have 4-4. You can get 4-4 for her. It's gonna be nice. Blackbeard on Isaki Kirara. Christmas on Isaki Kirara. This could also work, but I didn't use her, especially because of the passive on the active that it also freezes. But you need mobs for that one. Yukina and Susune are very easy to. I mean, Yukina is easy to get because it's permanent. And Susune, I hope you do have it because it's super important. You also need critical supporters. Like, there's a plethora of things that do work with her. So yeah, it isn't that difficult to actually build her, but there are some things that really work with her, like this and this. And this works super well with the weapon. Would I recommend investing like four nano machines on this? No, don't. uh, if you get a couple copies out of the exchange facility, that would be nice. So, well guys, that's about it. I hope you find this useful. I hope that you enjoy the video, and I'll be seeing you next time. Bye.